So John Lee, I'm so excited. You have your new book launch. You have also launched all sorts of other books, which I do want to touch on in a little bit. But right now, the Secrets to a Dealionaire, this is so special because in this time, now we're in 2022. This year is an interesting year because we still are facing a lot of challenges and people are thinking about getting into real estate investing and they want to know how could they, with little to no money at all, get into real estate investing.
Welcome to the Jennifer J. Hammond Podcast. Jennifer is a licensed realtor, educator, speaker, and best-selling author. Jennifer's goal is to help you find your yay in every day.
So John Lee, I'm so excited. You have your new book launch. You have also launched all sorts of other books, which I do want to touch on in a little bit. But right now, the Secrets to a Dealionaire, this is so special because in this time, now we're in 2022. This year is an interesting year because we still are facing a lot of challenges and people are thinking about getting into real estate investing and they want to know how could they, with little to no money at all, get into real estate investing. And I wanted you to talk about, we're going to talk about that and all sorts of about your book. And right now, I'm going to also mention, if you're in the Clubhouse room, you can see the link at the top, free Kindle version of the book, right, from March 7th to the 11th. So today is March 5th. So you do need to make sure, remember this, we'll keep posting this up there. And if you're listening anytime on YouTube, Facebook, or if you're listening on the audio version in the podcast, you know, the link, depending on when you listen, the link may be up there and you can get a free edition of the book. But John, I'm so excited to have you because you've written so many books, but this one you decided to, come out with this revisited, The Secrets of a Dealionaire Revisited. So I want to ask you that, but let me do a compounded question. I want you to talk a little bit about the word dealionaire, like a millionaire, but a dealionaire, and what that means and how you came up with that.
Well, it just kind of came to me when I was actually, when I was talking to Robert Allen back when I wrote the first book, who wrote the foreword for this book. It was like, well, what do you do? And most people, they can't really tell you what they do. But then we just got to thinking about this. And it's like, well, I've done over 3,000 of these little deals. And to me, it doesn't seem like that much because a lot of times I will do, I do 40, 50 in a week or 100 in a month. But they're little deals. I mean, it's something in fact, I just recently bought 11 properties a couple weeks ago. Now they cost a little bit more now than they used to, but I still paid $2,600. Now that's for 11 properties. So if you break that down, that's about $200 something a piece. Okay. In this day and age, a lot of people, you see these real estate things, you don't think you can necessarily do that, but you can. And what I found is one of the things I talk about more in this book is where to discover these deals. Okay. As you may know, just from talking to me a little bit, I'm a big fan of buying properties from the government. And you think, well, the government, what do they have to do with real estate? Well, they're not in the real estate business, but they have a lot to do with real estate because if you don't take their taxes, they will find somebody that will. And that somebody might be me. And what you can pick up for back taxes is a lot less money than what the value may be of the properties. So that's how that kind of came around, because I've just done so many deals. We just kept talking about deals and deals and deals. And it's like, well, everybody talks about millionaires and billionaires, all that kind of stuff, which is all fine, and good, because that's a goal for a lot of us, because without money we can't do much these days. But with the skill, like you kind of said before, that's what I like to teach, is the skill of how to do this, because it doesn't make any difference how much it is. It's the skill set of how to do the deal. So you can take a little bit of money, and that's what I like to teach, and that's what I've touched on with this book a lot. Is I get into a lot deeper than some of my other books, is how to discover the deals for a little bit of money, then how to design them and put them into your favor, and then how to deploy them, how to find your end buyer, your customer, and it's win-win-win all the way. I win because I make the deal. The government wins because they get the properties back on the tax roll. And it could even be sometimes with a homeowners association or a property owner association. So they win. And then the customer wins because they get a property for a low amount of money that they didn't know they could actually buy for that little amount of money. So that's kind of where it came along.
Well, thank you for that overview. And I want to say that we're definitely want to go into some examples so we can talk about some specifics in there, because I'm sure that piqued the interest of some people. And I want to do my famous, yeah, because we all love learning something that we can do over and over again and repeat and get success. And I think over many years of knowing you as well, I love the fact that you keep refining and tweaking. How can you teach people how to do this as well? Because you love helping people. Yay!
Mhm.
Which I think is key. I think all of us want to help other people, but we don't always know how to. And this is something, with your background, you came from, you've done all sorts of things. You've done insurance, you've done mortgages, and then when you decided to get into real estate investing, like a lot of people, they look at real estate investing and they think, oh my gosh, how am I going to do this? The banks are not always necessarily easy to get. And sometimes you can get one mortgage to do a real estate investing property, but then they start to limit on how many you can do. And there's things that are limited. And like with what you're teaching, there's no limit. The limit is you on how much time you want to put into it and what you want to do. But it's not limited by a bank or by someone else. It's really you deciding to do it. And one of the other things I want to highlight, you said is, and this is what I love to think about it, like I love also to teach people how to fish rather than just giving them a fish. And I used to always love Oli, and you're the person who we used to love to, hey, on Sirius XM, I would love to give away a property. I'm like, hey, let's give away a property. Let's do a big contest. Now, Sirius XM did not allow that. It was not allowed. And so we never could do that. But I love being able to gift people things and give people. But what I've realized is the most fulfilling thing that we can do is actually teach them how to do it themselves. And that's what's going to change their lives and really change generational wealth, because you can build wealth through real estate. You just need to decide which way you want to build it, because there's so many, and you know this, I mean, and I could just, even if you just looked at the simple ones of, buy, hold, and renovate, and, the buy and the hold for a long time, the buy, hold, renovate, the buy, renovate, flip, sell it right away. There are a whole bunch of, television shows about that. Or they're the ones that talk about tax liens, or there are just so many different ways. And yours is a completely different way than most people know about. It's something that you've learned over the years and made it so special, I think, because again, I know you love that phrase, KISS, keep it simple, silly.
I like kissers. Keep it simple, really simple. That's what I like to use. Yeah. It's got to be really simple.
Yeah, really. And I think that's the thing. It's easier to duplicate when it is really simple. And when you're not trying to figure out, okay, I mean, I've tried so many different people's real estate programs over the years, and it's just been like, oh my gosh, I got lost in some of the jargon and the words that people are talking about. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense to me at all. Like, let's put it down to where it is really, really, and with real estate, we already have, I want to say, our own language, and a lot of it comes from the legal language and then comes from Latin. And so it can be very confusing if you don't understand what you're doing. And that's why I love what you've done with this, is that it's just about keeping it super, super, super simple. And how can you do this with little money to no money? So you were sharing with me before we got on the show about, I'm really passionate about veterans and how can we help veterans. But one of the reasons I love helping veterans is because they really usually have a can-do attitude. They are, really interested in making sure you cross the finish line. And so they'll stick with things. And I love teaching them and helping veterans. So I would love if you would share this story about helping a veteran and the success that he's had.
Yeah, it's funny. We were talking about this before, but it's an email I just got yesterday. There's a a gentleman, he's been paying me. We set up a deal and he put just a little bit of money down. Maybe I think he put $200 down. I'd have to look at the paperwork, but it was not a whole lot. It's probably just about what I paid for the property. I mean, because that's how I structure these deals. Well, we set it up to pay $39 a month. Well, he's been paying $50 a month. He sent me an email yesterday. He's got probably a year or so left on this, because the way I set these up, it'll be, let's just say $2,500 for something I paid a couple $100 for, and then I finance them like this because I want everybody to be the bank and I want to make it, favorable for everybody. Well, he sent me an email yesterday saying that he's a disabled veteran, and what he's doing, and I had no idea he was doing this. In fact, I asked him if I could use this, and he said, yeah. So, I mean, it's really more detailed than what we can go into today, but after he gets his property paid off, he's got it figured out to buy one mini, like a cabin that he's going to do. You've seen the tiny homes and the things like that. Well, he found a place that will build these mini cabins. And after he pours the slab, he can get this done and get it on his property for $150 a month. His whole idea is to show other veterans that you don't have to be homeless. You don't have to live on welfare. You can take the $800 or so a month that he has, and this is how you do it. And you can actually own your home. You don't have to rent. You don't have to be any kind of subsistence. He's also got away with food too. He's got that down. And that's something I'll share with you later, but he's even got down how you save the pieces of the onions to regrow your own. I mean, just everything. You buy only vegetables and fruits that have seeds. I mean, he's got a whole way of doing this, which was very interesting. But that's one of the things I want to work with him on too, is how to show these, how to show veterans, how to do this, because it's so, it seems like we're all, and this is what happened to a lot of people that I've worked with over the years, and you and me included, they just kind of throw you out to the world. I mean, you can learn all this stuff, but then you got to go make it your own. That's one of the problems I've had also with some of the other trainings that I went to, and, some of the things, not that they were bad, but nobody really teaches you how to simplify it, systemize it, monetize it. And that's one of the things I just think is so important. And so I've got this where I made my system where it's very simple, so anyone can do it. And here's what I found out too, that about a little over half the people that actually come to learn some things, to go through my workshops and things, are people that have already been investing for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. And they're just looking for a way to refine what they've done, because you can take, and this is what I've done with my own rental properties, because I don't have any anymore. Mine are all sales. I've taken my own philosophies and what I do right here, my own techniques, and I applied it to my rental properties to where I don't have the the one-on-one everyday aspect of it. So that's just that's what I've done with this. And this book I'm kind of excited about, because it's taken me a long time. I started this last May, and I thought, oh, I've written 5-6 other books before. This will be easy. Well, it's, if you really do it right, and that's what I wanted to do, and I wanted to make it accessible to everyone, so it's very simple. It took me this long to get it out. So here we are, and Monday is the promotion. So yeah, it's absolutely free. Get you one. And you know what I've done also is you can see the star on the front of the book. I've put in, actually it's more than this, but over $1,497 in gifts that you will get just from having the book. So if you get a Kindle copy, it's got the links on there, but we've created a web page strictly for the book with gifts on there. It's got a training that shows you exactly how to do this, a workshop. I've got lots of downloads, got some templates on there, got some marketing information, and we're constantly adding to this. In fact, we were in there yesterday, and this is going to be, if you have this link and you know about this, which you'll find out, through the book here, you'll be able to access this as we go along without ever spending a penny, because that's part of the deal of sharing and teaching people this. And that's the idea behind it.
Well, and I love what you said earlier. I didn't want to interrupt you, but you said systematized. And I think, again, we both have been through so many trainings, and I love learning, and I'm always constantly looking to learn again. But so often, as you said, we get thrown to the wolves, because after you finish, you're like, so how do I go out into the world and apply this? And if you have a system that you can just follow, it's like following in someone else's footsteps. If there's a system there, then it's actually duplicatable and you can do it. And that's the thing. And also the fact that you are so passionate about making it simple. I think so often I have observed, let me not say, this is not something I want to say negative about others, other than I have observed that so often someone can make it complicated, maybe because they're trying to make it seem more important. And I could be wrong about that, but if nothing else, there's a gift to learning to teach and to really learn to make it as simple that someone could actually follow it. It really, I think that the Native American Indians have a saying about you don't really know something until you can teach it to someone else, and that someone else can actually do it. Not that it's that you teach it and that person, then the mentor or mentee, will actually be able to do something with it. And I think that that's, for you, I know you have students that you have in I want to say your group, your clan, people call it, your sphere of influence. You've really worked hard on making sure that people can implement it, and then finding out what goes wrong when they're not implementing it. And that's really, really important. Anyway, I digress. So let's talk about the Secrets of a Billionaire. You started this because you were trying to figure out how can you take a small amount of money or no money and make a deal. So let's run through a deal on how you find, and one of the things I love is in the first chapter, you talk about, and I love that you've named it the non-wanters, the people who no longer want their real estate. And that sounds like the most absurd thing in the world. What do you mean they have real estate and they no longer want it? And there are just so many amazing stories around this, but there are definitely people who are tired of owning real estate. We used to call them the lazy landlords, or, just people who got retired and now they're not interested in that kind of passive income. Maybe they've decided instead of being in real estate and having passive rental properties as passive income, they would like to have passive income from annuities or something where they don't have to worry at all. And so first of all, define the non-wanters, and then talk a little bit about how you find them.
Well, the way I originally found them is by the government, like we talked about before. The government has, most of us have heard of the tax sale auctions. If you don't pay your taxes, that would be a non-wanter. Government will take it over, then they'll put it up for sale for an auction. Well, what I found, and this is kind of what I show people what to do, and this is the best way to start. You can go to auctions if you want. I've never been to a tax sale auction. I've been to other auctions just for fun to watch them, but I don't want any competition. I just want to take, and then you have a redemption period. There's all kinds of things and more complications that go with that kind of stuff. Well, what happens in a lot of the counties is if they do not sell at the tax sale, the county takes them over. They're the trustee. Okay, then they're stuck with this property. There's nothing going on. Well, about half the counties around will sell you the properties and what I call over the counter, OTC. That means that you can just go buy them. There's no redemption period. You will get your deed right away as soon as you pay for them. And that's what I found. There's more that goes into the backstory than that, but that's really how it is. And that's how I can show you pretty simply is how to find these. You take those properties and that's what you can get for a couple $100. Those are from non-wanters, because a lot of people, they'll have a property, they don't know what the heck to do with it. Okay. And after so many years, depending on your jurisdiction, after so many years or 1 year or several years, that's when the county will take them back over of you not paying taxes. Well, in the meantime, the person is getting the bills. It's aggravation. Every time you get a bill that's not paid, as I've known in the past, it's been very devastating sometimes when you get a bill, because that's constantly on your mind. Well, tax bills are no exception. And that's another technique I've learned along the way too, is to get a hold of the people before they get to the tax sale, but that's another whole story. That gets into some of the free properties. But just I like to buy something though over the counter from the government directly, and that's the best way to get started, buying the properties from non-wanters, because the government is a non-wanter too. Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say, and let's talk about a little bit about that, because non-wanters, like the government is not in the business of owning property. They don't really want to own property. They just want the money for all of their budgets, right?
Yes, absolutely. They're in the money business.
So you're solving a problem for them, which I think, you alluded to in the beginning, and I wanted to highlight the win-win-win scenario, and the fact that it is really important to be solving a problem for someone else, so that you're creating a win for them, but then also creating a win for yourself. And then as you go on, which I want to talk more about what you do with the property afterwards, but talk about, so you over the counter, is a phrase that I think a lot of people don't know. So how would someone discover if there is over the counter in their county in the United States, wherever they are?
The simplest way to do it is just look up you call them. Okay. You can find some stuff online, and in this virtual world we live in, a lot of people like to do that. You're better off picking up the phone and calling them. Okay. You call the collector or the treasurer, depending on how they have it in your area. Okay. They may refer you to somebody else, but there's always a trustee in every county that actually controls the properties, whether they set up the tax sale auctions or they have them over the counter. The ones you look for is over the counter, and simply ask them, do you have any properties that did not sell at the last tax sale that you can sell over the counter? It's that simple. And can you give me a list? I have one on the workshop we did not too long ago. I got a chart workshop on that, that I show you that we did here. And it just shows you, it goes right down the steps to do this. You call them up and you ask them. I picked out a county I didn't even know to do for this workshop I did, just to see if it still works the way I've always done it. Because here's what happens. Once you get involved with a couple counties, this is what happened to me. I was overwhelmed, and I thought I was going to go to all 115 counties in Missouri and then branch out to everywhere and keep going. Well, I got into about 5 or 6 counties. There's so much inventory, I kind of got stuck there. Okay. So if you just simply ask them though, and get a list, and they sent me a list, and there was almost 1,000 properties I could buy for $100 a piece.
Wow.
Yeah. And then you have to do a little bit more due diligence. I mean, I get into a lot more details, but just simply what I did is I found out where they were, called the community, and got a list of their rules or regulations, see what I can and can't do. And then, the property's right there. And then that's kind of the design phase. Then what you do is you put them up for sale. You either sell them for a cash price. I usually give somebody a cash price or a financing price. And I have kind of a unique way I do that with 0% interest. And it's just the amount I charge. And then that goes on. You take a few $100s, it turns into years. I mean, as far as an income goes. So you could either get your short-term gain or you can get your long-term income. And I say I prefer both. Is what I like to do.
And I think it's so special because, again, what you're doing is so simple. And like you just said, if you just call, and it's so interesting. The other day I observed there was, I used to tease about, if you see a bunch of teenagers, so often they're sitting, they may be sitting at a table and all of them have their head down looking at their phone and even text messaging each other instead of actually talking to each other. And I was like, oh my gosh, what's happening? And now I've seen, as the years have gone on, that adults will sit at a table at dinner or something and do the same thing and start to email and text message. And I'm like, what happened to the person who's right in front of you? So I'm gonna stress that don't overlook what, again, seems like so ridiculously simple right now by picking up the phone and actually calling in and finding out, are there over the counter, sales, and could I get that list? And yes, a lot of things are online, but I will say that so often it's very confusing. And in fact, I'll give a quick example. I was looking at a county in Florida for properties, and it was so interesting. I was doing a different strategy than yours, but it was very similar in the fact that I was just like, you know what? And also for me, I come from a weird, I don't know if it's just that I don't like to bother people. I don't want to be the pain. And I worked for government, and so I know how many phone calls you can get. And sometimes it can be overwhelming. So I always want to I don't want to be a bother. I don't want to be a bother. So I'll go online and I'll try to figure everything out. And I was looking at this county in Florida, and I was trying to find the actual piece of land. And I was looking at it, and it was so funny because what I found is that how they list it on different parts of the government website, as you're kind of following the pattern of, did it sell at a tax sale or what's going on with it? Oh my gosh, they inverse and change the numbers of the way the land is numbered. Sometimes it's numbered one way. Sometimes they have a different, prefix to it. Sometimes it was amazing. And until I picked up the phone and actually talked to somebody, I was just completely lost, which I hate to say. One of the other things that I have observed as well, not only for myself, but for others, and even my students say the same thing, is once they get confused, a confused mind doesn't make a decision. They stop action. So you stop doing whatever it was that was going to help you, whether it was real estate investing or whatever you want to do. So first thing I would say is always when you have a confusion, ask questions. And at that point, let me tell you, so share a little bit about, I know you also teach classes and you help people kind of get through things. I know they can get the book, but you also do online classes. Will you share a little bit about what you do?
Yeah. The program we have, which we developed about a year ago, I guess now, and we've only done it with a couple of small groups. I call it the Ultimate Freedom. And what it actually does is shows you how to do these 3 steps. Okay. It shows you where to discover these properties for little or no money. It shows you how to design the deals in your favor and in everybody's favor. Because like we've talked about, you win. I mean, if the deal everybody isn't happy, I'm not going to do it anyway, because it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I'm not gonna try to force anybody. We're not trying to do anything like that. And then the third thing is to deploy the deals. Okay, you've got to be able to sell them too. Yeah. And there's different techniques and different ways you do it. One of the things I found is some of this the hard way. I mean, I've done a lot of this and I've been refining it, as you know, for many years. And you got to get your stuff down. It's just, they say don't judge a book by its cover. Well, that's the first way people judge it is by the cover. Okay. Same thing with your ads that you write. You have to have a headline that sells, because if you don't have a good headline, nobody's going to open it. We live in a skim world now. We're skimming through the ads. We're skimming through everything. I was just reading a thing the other day, just even on emails, and I write like an old time writer. I'll make paragraphs. You don't do that anymore. You make 1 or 2 sentences, they put a space, and you go right down so you can skim it. And my wife and I were talking about that last night, because I got 2 different emails from somebody. I said, "Oh, look at this. Here's the one that's good skimmability, and this one isn't, even though I like the information better in the one that they consider isn't." Well, we don't have enough time these days, and our attention spans are short, and there's a million different things coming after us for our attention. So it's got to catch that right away. So that's just kind of how I kind of show you when we're deploying these, how to do it. In fact, I have one of the downloads that I give to you with this book here is 1,275 real estate headlines that sell. I put this together. Yeah, you're welcome to have it. In fact, if anybody wants to send me a message on the side, I'd be happy to send you just that part. But better yet, just get your own copy of the book, and it's got all that stuff in there. But that's one of the things I found is the first thing you got to do in writing an ad, because you can write the best ad in the world, but if they don't open it, what good does it do? None.
Right. And I've learned that as well over the years. It's the same thing. And it's the same thing with titles for podcasts. It's the same thing when you're advertising anything, is you want something. But again, we are, people, and I do the same thing. You kind of skim through things. And if it doesn't catch my attention right away, I'm just keep on going. I've got things to go, things to do, places to go. And you just get busy. So, okay. So let's talk a little bit more about, and if anybody's interested, while you guys are the special ones, if you're in Clubhouse and you want to raise your hand, feel free to raise your hand and we'll talk more about this. But so let's talk about, so you talk to a county and you find out, you get this list. And after you get the list, then talk a little bit about how simple this is, because you have all sorts of money coming in from structuring these deals, but you get this list and then you contact, so let's talk about 2 things. One, I'm going to talk about the eBay strategy, which you talk about in the book. So anybody, we're going to kind of breeze through this really fast. But again, the book is free on Kindle from March 7th to the 11th. Feel free. The link is at the top in the Clubhouse. And also we'll make sure that it's in YouTube and Facebook and all the other places that we put it up there. But so talk a little bit about when you get the property and the eBay strategy. I want to talk about, there's other strategies, but I get so excited. I want you to talk about them all at once, but let's just talk about the eBay strategy, because I think often people overlook eBay, especially for real estate. Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, I guess best way to explain this is how it actually started. Many years ago, I was and I still am, an amateur coin collector. And back in the days of dial-up, you would there was a lot of, the bandwidths were small. So there was a lot of competition for the bandwidths, and you get kicked off a lot. Well, that back then downloading a picture could take, a couple of minutes. So what I ended up doing is I'd get on the computer, late at night, 2 or 3, 4 in the morning. And that way I didn't have any competition. I didn't have nobody bother me or anything like that. It was another reason. I still do a lot of stuff in the middle of the night, but I got on there, and one night I just, I was a mortgage broker at the time, and I just happened to find a guy that was selling these properties down in Arkansas. Okay. And they would sell anywhere from, $500 to a couple $1,000. And I thought, well, wait a minute, I'm making maybe $25 on a coin here. And I think that's pretty good, or $50 or whatever. I said, what if I could just buy a property for 500 and sell for 1,000? That'd be a lot better. So I contacted the guy. First I bid a couple of times on his auctions, and I always would get outbid at the end. I don't know if you know anything about eBay, but a lot of people sit there, watch it, wait till the end, and outbid you by like $5 or $10 or whatever the case may be. Well, that happened to me several times. So I contacted the guy and I said, well, do you have any properties I can and they were down in Arkansas. He lived in North Carolina. And I said, is there anything I could just buy from you outright? And he sent me a list of maybe 10 properties. And so I went down and looked at them. They were like 1,000 to 1,500 a piece is what he had on a fixed price. I didn't buy anything, but what I discovered while I was down there is the state of Arkansas, they have a program where they will sell the properties over the counter that people did not sell at the last tax sale. And so I got a list from them. Well, I made several trips down to Arkansas. I never bought anything though. And that's one of the things that I recommend. Get in the game. Even if you lose a couple $100, you can make that most of the time tax deductible. Because I didn't do that. My trips would have been mostly tax deductible, but I didn't do that. But I did find them closer to my home, and I found a bunch of them. So I bought my first couple of properties, and I put them up for sale on eBay, and they sold right away. I made like $4,400, within a month, within a couple of weeks, because I was kind of scared on how to do this. So I said, well, if that works, I'll try it again. And I did that for many years. I'd sell 10, 15 properties a week. I mean, I was buying them. I actually exhausted a couple of the counties that I worked at. I mean, hundreds and hundreds. In fact, one county alone out west, I bought and sold over 1,800 properties there, and several of them, several hundred. What I do now is a little bit different though. I give people a choice, because back then I was all about, let's get quick money, and I got to do it now. That's just the way everything was working. Nowadays, I look at something for longer term. I'd rather have the $50 a month. I'd rather have the $69 a month, because I normally get my money up front for what they want to put, their initial investment, the amount they put down. And then the way I structure them, it'll go on for 7, 8, 9, 10 years, 11 years. I got one deal that I did not too long ago. It's going on for 20.